Hi, welcome back. We're here today on episode 62. Wow, we've come a long way, baby.
Right. And we call this episode In the Secret of the Barns.
Barns,
The
okay.
sheep barns.
Oh, the sheep barns, okay. So I guess he spent a lot of time in sheep
Yes.
barns, huh?
He loves to be there, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in the previous episode, we talked a little bit about all the things that happen around the crucifixion and the regeneration of his body, right?
Right.
So we're not going to come back to that, but we know that Yeshua he was taken to a barn to rest and try to recover and rebuild his body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's where we are now. So one of the two brothers from Heliopolis is handing a warm drink to Yeshua. So we know that he's helped in his recovery by two therapists, two doctors of Egypt.
Oh, okay.
Coming from that school, and these are the
Mm-hmm.
same people who helped him go through the first initiation in the Great Pyramid.
Oh, I see. Okay.
One of them has a black skin, and his name is Balthazar. The other one is younger, but we do not know his name. Okay, so we're going to talk about those two persons.
Okay.
And Yeshua has a hard time holding the cup because of the bands covering his wrist. Our audience probably remember that the nail were driven into his wrist, right? So probably damaging some of the tendons,
Yeah.
So in addition, the wounds in his wrist are preventing him from folding his fingers again.
Yeah. The whole mechanism is all
right,
here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was the day after the end of Easter, and they had no news from Jerusalem. And Yeshua is wondering, and he's more worried about his disciple than about himself. As can be expected, right?
Right.
Yeah. And they would stay in that barn for a few days in full secret. And one of the two brothers, and most of the time it is Balthazar doing that, would ride to Jerusalem to find out what was going on and also deliver news to Uncle Yusuf.
How Yeshua was doing.
Yeah. So the following day, Yeshua wakes up very early and by himself. And he has the feeling of a presence which had pulled him out of his slumber. And he sees a greenish light seeping from under the door, where he knows exactly who is the visitor coming, right?
Do you know who the visitor is?
Yeah, I guess we're going to find out. And it's to a point where even some sheep are starting to bleat.
Oh, okay. They're
probably wondering what's going on.
What is this? Yeah.
And Yeshua goes out knowing who was coming to visit him, of course, And what he sees is a craft levitating above a group of olive trees, and now a famous silhouette, is marching towards him. And of course, it is his friend, the Elohim,
Right.
We don't know exactly where, but we suspect that they are Pleiadians, and they are coming to basically close a loop with Yeshua on the plan, what happened, and what he will do in the future. And Yeshua tries to bow in front of Elohim, but Elohim is stopping him with a gesture. And this was the first time Elohim was touching Yeshua since he was a kid, when they did a modification, some kind of surgery on the back of his spine.
The mouth of God, probably,
the mouth of God, right? In the depths of Mount Tabor. And I think it was episode number 5, if my memory is correct. And so you can see also the lips of Elohim are moving, and you hear a voice, proving its physical presence. So it's not just an holographic projection. I mean,
right.
The guy is literally here. And Elohim says, everything has been done, brother Yeshua. Birds will no longer fly in the sky the way they used to. And Yeshua responds, and the men, will they grow wings? And Elohim has a smile and says, what do you wish for them? And Yeshua responds, I want freedom, because nothing true can grow without freedom. So Elohim at that point smiles and continues, then you know it. You will have to accept the type of freedom they can withstand, what they can accept.
Right.
All birds are not capable to fly to the same altitude. Therefore, not all men will walk in the same way. Brother, you can expect that 100 different things will be said about your exit from the tomb, and 100,000 different stories regarding your teachings will be said. And Yeshua responds, I understand that. And Elohim goes, but, and Yeshua says, it was not my voice. It was the Christic energy in me. And Elohim responds to him and says, its fragrance is still inside you. So Elohim was right. The essence of the Christic energy had touched the essence of Yeshua forever. Okay? It had given it some color.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And Yeshua was not an orphan, like we could think, but a heir, you know? And Elohim says, what do you wish to do now? And this was the most surprising and strange question ever asked to Yeshua. Day after day, Yeshua has been doing the will of his Father, of God, right? With obstination and perseverance. And an answer came to him. And he said, I am not done, because the simple idea of an end is a nonsense. I just inherited of the most precious treasure, but I already have heirs, and I need to guide their paths according to their freedom and the size of their wings.
No.
See how far, how high they can fly, right?
Right, without interfering in their free will,
Yeah.
I guess. Is that what he means?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And what they are capable of doing,
Right.
too. Yeah. So Elohim will confide a few more words with Yeshua, but we do not know what they are. Okay, it was not revealed by the Akashic memory. And then Elohim walks back to the craft, which is waiting for him above the trees. So Yeshua, you know, after saying farewell, and I think it's the last time that Yeshua is communicating with Elohim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He walks back to the barn, and he realized that the two brothers from Egypt, you know, from Heliopolis, have seen everything.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And both of them were now prostrated on the ground, their face, you know, looking on the ground. And the owner of the barn was also watching what was going on.
Yeah.
And he was in the door frame, readjusting the turban on his head, you know, probably very disturbed. And he was trying to say some prayers with a lot of anxiety. So Yeshua, you know, doesn't want to discuss about that. He just salutes all three of them and returned laying down on his small bed. He needed to
There wasn't anything you could probably say,
no,
right?
I mean, how could you?
There's nothing you could say.
Just, how could you explain that, right?
We'd have to gaslight him. You didn't see that.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
That's right.
You didn't see it.
That's right.
So he needed to reconstruct his strengths as fast as possible, you know, and close the wounds he had on his body, right? So Balthazar is going to leave the barn after these events that nobody talked about, you know, nobody dared to comment. He's swapping his white robe for a brown one, which is more discreet, right?
Right.
Because we know that
he won't stand out as much.
And we know that the Essenes who used to wear the white robes are now being persecuted by the Romans, right? And he rolled a turban around his head and he ride a horse they had, and he's going to Jerusalem, trying to find out what's going on. And let's just talk a little bit about Balthazar. You know, Balthazar was old and his body was worn out. I mean, this guy has been all over the place in Egypt, you know, in Palestine, Judea, you know, traveling all over the place. So, however, nobody could have stopped him and the task he had taken for this lifetime, you know. Balthazar was not speaking much, but he was very loyal and solid, someone you can rely on. And the following afternoon, Yeshua decides to use his light body to visit his disciples in the place called Emmaus, I guess it's relatively famous. So he acted in a complete surrendering, following the spontaneity of his heart, not so much for the location, but for the group of people who were there. And contrary to the scriptures that are talking about only 2 disciples, it was actually a large group who saw Yeshua appear in front of them. And there were women, despite all the efforts of the scribes, writing the
To write the
Bibles,
women out.
to erase their presence.
Yeah.
They had not understood or did not want to understand that Yeshua had come on this planet to recede the race of man through the spirit of the women. So we are receding the race of man through the spirit of women. That's very deep.
It's balancing, right?
Yeah, of course.
The masculine and the feminine.
And because perhaps, during certain cycles, the women are more apt and capable of infusing a certain energy on the planet.
Right.
Yep. So the meeting was brief and not as solemn as the scriptures are relating it. It was mostly a wave of love and peace and a proof of a presence and the reality that Yeshua was still living somewhere. So nobody knows where he's living, but they think he's still alive. Of course, that fact has also been modified in the scripture and the Bible. As always, there is the truth and what some choose to understand and spread and publish, right? The following day, towards the end of the day, Balthazar comes back to the barn, and Yeshua was sitting under a tree, and his poultice and bands had been renewed, so he was pretty good. And he was breathing better this way, being outside, and grounding himself.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And Balthazar wanted to create a surprise to Yeshua. Behind him, there were 2 mules were carrying 2 silhouettes, draped in black with hidden faces. And seeing the silhouettes walk, Yeshua immediately guesses, who it is. Yeah. And it is, in fact, Myriam, his wife, and his mother, Myriam. So both women rushed to Yeshua, on the grass. They both touched his feet with their forehead and cried for a little while. And Yeshua remembers that they thought that he was an apparition, which was going to disappear,
Oh.
I mean, they are not, it's hard for them to believe that he's still alive, after what happened.
Witnessing what happened to him.
Yeah. So deep inside, Yeshua was trying to find words to welcome them, but nothing came to him, which is surprising, right? Nothing that could tell what he was feeling as a son and as a husband, being visited by the 2 favorite person. And this form of vacuity has to be understood, in fact, to be very helpful to let the souls communicate directly. So, the silence is sometimes the best way to let the souls communicate.
They're telepathically communicating.
Right, exactly. And looking each other in the eyes, instead of trying to murky the communication with words, Finally, after a long moment, Yeshua placed his hands on top of their heads, a gesture from a man trying to express his love after returning from a very, very long voyage. And of course, Myriam is the first one to break that bubble of silence. And she goes, "Rabboni, my Rabboni." And as the evening was coming and the temperature was dropping, the barn owner decided to start a fire. So where Yeshua was sitting, the owner of the barn is going to start a little fire to keep everybody warm. And around that fire, the little group is starting to talk, while eating some cheeses made with sheep milk, right? Flatbreads, and the traditional olive oil, which is infused with mint.
Oh.
So this is what they were having.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Never thought of doing that combination.
We should try that. Yeah.
I know.
So while Myriam and Myriam are trying to find their voices, Balthazar has a lot to say about Jerusalem. So he's giving him a little bit of a summary about what's going on. He had seen Jerusalem in full delirium. The Easter celebration had been deeply perturbed by the disappearance of Yeshua's body. As soon as the Roman guards came back, they realized that he was no longer in the crypt, right? So the two guards had to reveal that they had to find a refuge due to the violence of the storm. That was their excuse, right? And as the Uncle Yusuf had predicted it, all kind of theories, conspiracy theories were running around the city about.
Well, they had him back then too.
Yes, they did. So all the close disciples had been notified, but were hiding, not knowing what to do and say. In fact, they were afraid. And Yeshua says, what to say, Balthazar? They do not know what to say, but simply the truth of what took place, that I survived. And Balthazar responds and he says, a few want that, but most fear that the Roman soldiers are going to search for you all over the country. They prefer to let them believe that you came back from the dead. Because in a way, it's some kind of protection, right?
Right.
His body disappeared, and then he's somehow resurrected from the dead.
Right.
So the Romans are not going to go after that.
No.
Because they can't, right?
Yeah.
So Mother Myriam, the mother, intervenes and she says, yes, they prefer it. I could talk to Proclus. Proclus is the wife of Pontius Pilate, right? And she also was a disciple of Yeshua. And she could talk to Proclus very briefly. Pontius Pilate himself interrogated the two guards personally. They pretended escaping, not only due to the storm, but also because of a strange and very frightening green glow that they saw. And from that glow, they saw multiple silhouettes in white coming out of it.
Oh my gosh.
So those poor soldiers, by night, seeing that green glow coming from the sky, and then white silhouettes, walking toward them.
And then they have to explain it to Pontius Pilate.
And they have to explain it. So things are stopped at that point, they don't know what to say. And Pilate is furious. And they are talking about a hoax, a trick from the Nazarene or the Zealots. And the soldiers are becoming violent. So at that point, Yeshua asked for some silence. Knowing for him, knowing that the disappearance of his body was causing so many brutalities, was hurting Yeshua. What was that world in which the incarnation of peace himself, right, was only triggering brutality and massacres? Yeah. For Yeshua, this constatation was not new, but once more, the effects were quite obvious. And he's thinking that the breath, the energy, can have two opposite effects. Either you can extinguish a flame, right? Or you can augment its strength,
fan it,
and then spread the fire. And unfortunately, that's what happened. Yeah. So the question was, which kind of flames had Yeshua been blowing on the negative pulsions or on the spirit of loving? Yeah, I guess we can leave that to history, right? Yeah, it seems to him like birth could only take place through death, through some kind of metamorphosis, transformation, right? So Yeshua takes his mother's and Myriam's hands, after Balthazar finished talking, and he says, and you, what are you saying? And Myriam, the mother, said, I say that we have to let love act, my son. And Yeshua likes that answer, and he also likes the fact that his mother calls him my son, He was agreeing that it was necessary to let love do its stuff. Humankind is still ignoring that its body is equipped with a supra-consciousness. Most people ignore that, right? Or do not realize it, and that it always tries to tune to the most powerful archetypes that can be the primordial elements of the creation. And suddenly Yeshua asks, and our brother Judah, Do you know where he went? Any news from him? And Myriam, the mother, notifies Yeshua that she did not hear anything about Judah. Myriam, his wife, on the other hand, is very surprised by Yeshua's question. Nobody, in fact, had realized that it was Judah who had condemned himself for the coming times, right?
Right.
Yeah, sometimes the double talk that Judah had played the roles of the shadows necessary in teachings because of their initiatic nature, right? And Yeshua does not ask anything more about Judah, He knows that the emotions and the passions are still too raw to accept the role of what Judah did and what history will remember as the Iscariot, right? Yeah. I mean, I think, I hope that our audience understand that what Judah did was absolutely necessary. It needed to happen like that.
Right.
It was part of the plan.
Yeah.
It was an agreement that they had between Yeshua and Judah for many lifetimes before, And again, we should not condemn or criticize Judah for what he
It was
did.
the hardest thing for him to do.
It was the most difficult thing to do, yeah. So, as they needed to clean Yeshua's wounds, the evening around the fire came to a close, and Myriam came to lay down in the barn near Yeshua. And they prayed together at low voice. Their hands were barely touching. Myriam could not believe in the presence of Yeshua near her, and Yeshua was learning how to breathe the air with delectation again, in her presence. To him, their complicity had never been so great. So, Myriam's and Yeshua's mother, the Myriam and the Myriam, are going back to Jerusalem.
I'm glad you could put that together and keep it together.
So
not get confused.
They are going back to Jerusalem the following morning. Their absence would have caused some question, and that was absolutely to be avoided. I mean, seeing those two women disappear for a night or many days,
Like,
would
where'd
definitely,
they go?
yes. Who are they going to see?
I'm sure somebody was keeping an eye on them.
Exactly, yeah. And also, Yeshua needed the solitude for multiple reasons. He was now alone in his body, and he needed to get used to that state. I mean, yeah, I hope our audience understand that the Christic energy left him, right?
Right.
And that was taking a big chunk of his personality and his life, right? So now it's like, okay, back to the Master Yeshua. Right. He needed to reconstruct his body and repair his wounds also. And he needed to recover his full autonomy as an avatar, right?
Right.
And he also needed to study the horizon of what was coming for his life, and what he was going to do with his disciple. And so Yeshua is going to stay in that barn for close to a month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, close to what they call a moon period.
A moon period, yeah. Okay.
And one of the brothers, most of the time it is Balthazar, would go to Jerusalem every week and bring back some news, And the news are always the same. Riots are everywhere. Yeah, the Essene Bethsaida had been deserted and judged too dangerous of a place. Okay, this is the inn that was a little bit outside of the fortress, outside of the city of Jerusalem, and that's where the Essene used to gather and meet and talk, and
Okay.
But now nobody goes there because the Romans are probably watching it and monitoring it carefully. Yeah. The people in their majority are only believing to the resurrection of Yeshua. And that's probably the best way it is, to let him live in peace. The zealots are creating all this confusion, and the Romans are responding with their weapons, as the Romans do.
Right.
That's the normal way for Romans. All the disciples and students of Yeshua have to hide and be extremely discreet. And this whole movement is actually going beyond Jerusalem and throughout the entire Judea. And then Master Lyamas, who was his master in India, nobody knew what happened to him. So Yeshua is still wondering, And a few days later, Balthazar comes back again with a rider, Myriam.
Oh, she came back.
Yeshua's wife, yeah. And Yeshua perceived, seeing her, he perceived that something changed in her. She had a stern face, so she's not happy. Almost crying, she insisted to be alone with Yeshua. She had supposedly created a new balm and wanted to use it on Yeshua's wounds. I think it was a pretext to be with him by himself, you know. And Yeshua, while hugging her, can feel that the balm is just a pretext. So he removed the bands from his wrist and feet, you know, so that she can use the balm. And some wounds are still oozing. And seeing him like that, Myriam placed her head on Yeshua's knees and told him about her dream. And this is why she wanted to come and see him. She wanted to talk about her dream, and a dream which is actually quite revealing for her, you know. So what she says is, a few nights ago, Rabboni, I saw you on the top of a mountain. I knew there was a lake at the foothills of that mountain. I wanted to take the path to join you, but I heard your voice telling me, stay, Myriam, stay. And I found myself in the middle of the lake, which had become a sea.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So in one hand, I was holding a fish, exactly like the one from the lake. And in the other hand, something that looked like a moon crescent, but that was actually a cup. I did not understand, and that was hurting me. You had disappeared, that is all. When I woke up, I thought about what Elohim had told me the evening of your crucifixion. Thus, you do not want me anymore, Rabboni? Is that true? So maybe we should explain or give some insights into that dream, okay?
Right.
So I think it's important to realize that, and again, I don't want to unveil what will happen in the future of the life of Yeshua, but the lake that she saw and the mountain is actually where Yeshua will end up his life.
Oh, okay.
And this is again back in East Asia.
Okay.
Right? And that place where
that he
really loved before, right? So he's going to go back there. And this is where she saw him.
Okay.
And then when she said that she was in the lake holding a fish and a cup, and then that lake turned into a sea, is also a premonition about what she will be doing, because we know she will board a boat belonging to Uncle Yusuf.
Right.
And she will travel with Shlomit and Yakuba to the south shores of France.
Okay.
Yeah. At that time it was called the Gaul country. Yeah. So all these moments, you know, when she told that to Yeshua, it's all engraved in his memory, you know. And he took her head between his hands as well as he could, because again, you know, with his wounds,
still injured,
and said, you know, my beloved, in the contrary, I want you where you must be, because Awun, God, expects us where each one of us must be. Do you remember when I told you, it is not for us that we are living? Do you remember? It is now that you and I must understand and accept the true meaning of these words. No, Myriam, our lives do not belong to us. In the heart of your heart, you know that we have offered our lives to the eternal before taking flesh in this world, before reincarnating, right?
Yeah, but it's so hard, right?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Since Easter, you understood it. The Christic energy has finished its work in my body. It went away. And this is why the Yeshua that you know must shrink. This is why your spouse must retire. It must be so in order for the Christic energy to continue to clean the spirit of the men and the women. It is because of my disappearance of what it means that the call will resonate for humankind. If he had stayed, it would not have had the same impact.
Right.
Yeah. So, of course, Myriam does not react. She doesn't like what she is hearing, you know. So not a movement, not a word, not a sigh, not a tear. And Yeshua was feeling exactly what she was going through, you know. She was drowning under the water and then trying to surface above it, clinging to her vessel, right?
Right.
He was quite certain she could do it, you know. She was made to hold the tiller and raise the sails. So after a long silence, Yeshua placed his forehead against Myriam. And he says, "It is you, the first will be my cup, because you are the one that knows and carry my words. Since I woke you and taught you, you will also wake and teach those who will come towards you in full sincerity and humility. I'm telling you, you too will leave this place to radiate joy where it will be received." And again, this is an allusion to the fact that she will go to the country of Gaul. So at that point, Yeshua places his left hand on top of Miriam's head, and with a lot of tenderness, he placed his right hand on top of the left hand of Miriam's, you know, creating a little like a cup.
Oh, okay.
And then it generates and creates a small medallion.
Oh.
And that medallion has just been created by Yeshua, you know, and he was overwhelmed with love, yeah. And that medallion was made of gold, and it represents a small fish, which is vertical, head down, over a boat, which was in fact a moon crescent and a cup.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So that medallion, once visualized by Yeshua, was materialized between their hands. Okay. So he had his hand above Myriam's hand, you know, and he created the medallion between them. Yeah. And he said, "Take this, Myriam, and keep it for you in secret. Feed it with your prayers. When it will resurface in 2,000 years, thus it will be the sign."
Has it resurfaced?
I wonder. I wonder, has it resurfaced yet?
Yeah.
And she asked, "The sign of what, Rabboni?" And Yeshua responds, "Another threshold to cross for the human race of this world." And she goes, "Why do you say race?" And Yeshua responds, "Because they all will have to learn that all the races are one." So I guess the medallion has not resurfaced yet.
No, I don't think so. We're getting there, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeshua smiles in all his soul when he realized that Myriam finds all this very natural. The apparition, the materialization of a medallion, you know, between their palms. So, I mean, it's a good sign. And it is comforting for Yeshua, you know, to see the maturity of Myriam's consciousness. And also he is very happy with the right choice of his gift to her, you know. And he's also extremely happy to see that the paramukta, basically that those powers he has to create things,
like
yeah,
yeah,
right, are intact, you know.
Right.
He's extremely grateful for this. And then he closes his eyes while Myriam massages his hurt body with her new bones and replaces the bands on his wounds, you know. And she realized that the back of Yeshua is very slow to heal, you know, because of the multiple whipping and horrible torture they did to him. Yeah. And finally, Myriam falls asleep on the rug next to Yeshua, and he hears her cry a little bit, and finally, like an exhausted kid, you know, she falls asleep. And this is how they spend their last hours of intimacy, you know. On the following day, Balthazar is escorting Myriam to Haramatayim. And Haramatayim is the birthplace of Uncle Yusuf.
Oh,
and that's why he's called Yusuf of Haramatayim. where Uncle Yusuf has a home. And over there, Myriam, the mother, Martha, Sarah, which was the sister of Yeshua, Marcus, the son of Myriam, and Eleazar, his first disciple, are there already. And it is, in fact, the safest place for her to stay, you know. And Balthazar relates to Yeshua how Myriam showed strength and a great attitude during her return.
Oh.
She seemed invested in a mission that was actually transfiguring her.
Maybe it was something in that medallion.
Maybe, or maybe she was
energetically.
I think she was starting to understand the message that Yeshua had given her.
Right.
Yeah. And that was a balm of peace, you know, and satisfaction for Yeshua to learn that transformation of Myriam. And 2 days later, Thomas and Tadei, who are both brothers of Yeshua, are coming to visit their brother Yeshua, you know. And he asked them to rally as many people as possible in a place located between Tiberiad and Gennesaret, because Yeshua wants to address and talk to them one last time, to all his disciples. And again, it is during that visit that Thomas asked his brother Yeshua to show him the wound on the right side of his thorax. And contrary to what has been said, it is not because he was doubting, but more as a curiosity, you know, knowing that it was this wound that had saved Yeshua's physical body.
Right.
So I find it interesting that he's supposed to be resurrected, right?
Right.
He's supposed to be a being of light. But his brother would want to go there and see the wound. Okay, so how can you see a wound on a being which is made of light, right?
Right.
That doesn't sound correct.
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, they're just hoping you just kind of glance over that.
Yeah, maybe I need to read more, the Bible more, you know. Anyway, so the meeting with the large group took place 3 weeks later. Okay, so basically we are now about 2 months after the crucifixion again, and not like a few days like the Bible says here. And Yeshua was hoping to go there physically, you know, but he was still too weak to do it. And after the rebounds of energy of the first few days, fevers had again taken over, and the wound done by Nathaniel in the wrist was not healing. So that's interesting. Let's maybe stop here. As audience may remember, Nathaniel is the one who tried to drive the nail in his left wrist, you know. And he could not do it. He had to hit him 3 or 4 times, you know, and it was just horrible.
Okay.
And then after that, the Romans pushed him because they could see that he could not do this work correctly. And the poor Nathaniel was actually pushed in the mud. He was crawling in the mud. He was vomiting. I mean, he could not handle it. So I just wanted to mention that the author, Daniel Moura, was given the opportunity to relive the life of Nathaniel. And he wrote a small book, which is very short because there is not much to say about that poor wretch, you know. But he goes through that book. Unfortunately, will probably never be translated in English. But he relates the life of Nathanael and how this, you know, horrible human experience, you know, that the human being has to do. Since he cannot go here physically, Yeshua decides to use his light body to bilocate to the meeting place, okay, which is a few miles from Tiberiad. And again, it was in a small sheep farm. Okay? We kind of like those farms. And so to do that, Yeshua is projecting the soul of his body, and then he's gathering atoms and molecules to materialize his flesh. So, you know, that's how adepts are actually bilocating. They are sending the body of their soul and then gathering material all around them.
It's like Star Trek. Remember when it would...
Well, it's not a teleportation because they have two bodies at the same time.
Oh,
there is a physical body
that's in one place,
which is in one place,
and
kind
then
of
right.
in a lethargic state,
Right.
sleeping state or
Mhm.
meditative state. And then there is the projection of the soul, and then the gathering of atoms and molecules, found in nature, which are transformed and refined and aggregated to recreate a physical body.
Wow.
So
Now that sounds
we can
amazing.
really talk about bilocation,
Right.
where they are present in two locations. Now, I think the consciousness is present in the second location, where the soul is located.
Well,
of course,
because the other one is
the other
out.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew how to do that perfectly, but he had to be careful because of his lack of energy. It's probably require a lot of energy to do that.
Gosh, yeah.
So the place where they were meeting was heaven, very beautiful, with almonds and pomegranate trees. And Yeshua had slept in this barn many times before, so he knew the place quite well. And the gathering and the ceremony was a lot less ostentatious than the scriptures are presenting it, of course. Yeah. And for Yeshua, it was a scream of love coming from his heart and directed toward his disciple. That's what he wanted to communicate here. No missions, no plans of action were given. In his opinion, love cannot be planned or strategized. It can only be transmitted. Love can only be transmitted in the purest freedom possible. So upon the request of Myriam, his mother, everybody was gathered in circle around Yeshua, right? And Myriam, his wife, was more beautiful than usual and very proud. And to show Yeshua that she knew how to control her emotions, she was barely looking at him. Like, okay. And Yeshua started talking to his disciples. And he said, my friends, be thanked for being here, because I'm telling you, what was and is in me is also inscribed in you forever. From now on, you will not say, I believe, or even I know, because you will say that you have the knowing, which is deeper than to know, right?
Right.
It's the experience. From that point, you will start to taste and enjoy the realm of life and the illusion of death. You are the witness, not of my own teachings, but of the knowledge that was transmitted through me and which is coming from immemorial times. Walk and travel now. Tell about what is inside your hearts. And I'm repeating it. Forget my name. Where you go, make sure my being is not adored or revered.
Oh boy.
Instead, reveal the love that placed my steps in this world. May each one of you keep his faith and heart untouched. You must be like true children towards their fathers. At the time when I'm disappearing, life is offering you a challenge, which is simple but incredibly demanding. Love without limits, without restraint, and with determination. Go towards the women and the men. Teach them the beauty of the space of their heart. Be a spark to refresh their memory. Should you create a new cult? Oh no, absolutely not. By all means, I do not want that. I only want to see the revelation of the sacred, that sacred which is not religious, because linked to all beyond the vanity of human powers. And these are pretty much the last words of Yeshua to his disciples, The pleasure to see them all gathered with all this tenderness was immense for him, And little by little, all the disciples could see that the light body of Yeshua was turning into a yellow color, and his being started sparkling, like little sparks. Yeah. And there was a small twirling, a shiver in this flesh, in the flesh of his soul, and instantly Yeshua was back in his barn, on his bed, and he disappeared from the
from the group.
Yeah. And at that point, he had just sown to all winds, the craziest but most beautiful seeds of hope that could be created. Yeah. From now on, nothing was belonging or depending on him, right? It was up to the disciples to do whatever they had to do.
Right.
And a few days later, the fever are going to stop. And with the youngest of the brothers, Yeshua managed to sit on a horse.
Wow.
And he did bid farewell to Balthazar, who at that point had a feeling that his life was coming to an end, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Yeshua and the young brother are riding towards a lake of Kinnereth, okay? And they are traveling during the night, and their voyage was uninterrupted and very smooth. So obviously the Romans were not patrolling,
Right.
or maybe they were protected, probably.
I'm sure they were protected.
Yeah. So the following day, from the top of a hill, Yeshua can see the small village of Migdal, where Myriam is from, right? And near a pomegranate tree, he could see the house of Myriam. It was visible. So one last time, Yeshua wanted to go to that home. One last time, he wanted to meet the proud gaze of his beloved and feel the warmth of her hands. So even though he knew that Peter, Eleazar, Barthélemy, Simon, and a few others were already with her, before deciding which respective paths they would all take,
Right.
which direction they would be traveling. So everybody was actually waiting for Yeshua. They were all expecting his coming. They knew that he would come,
Okay.
one day or the other. And they were not worried about time. They were not even looking or thinking about that, So actually, the memories are not saying much about this last brief and last encounter, What we know, it was a complete sharing and an immense love among the group, And in the morning, Yeshua is going to kiss the closed eyes of his beloved after spending the night with her. And we can assume that this is the last time they were together. So he's back on the road alone. And this time he's riding a mule and wearing a long brown coat to be more inconspicuous, right? And he's not even with the younger brother of Heliopolis. Yeah. He's by himself, yes.
Wow.
And he's actually praying the animal to take him to the northwest, to the foot of these old walls that base these childhood memories, the Carmel School of Mystery.
Oh, so that's where he's headed to.
That's where he's headed to, yes. So in the next chapter, we will see he's coming back into the Carmel School of Mystery, Of course, the transformation that took place in that school, because things have changed also. And in the episode after that, we will have this famous encounter with Paul, or Saul of Tarsus, from Tarsus.
Good old Paul.
Good old Paul, yeah. And we will have a lot to say about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
It will be very interesting.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.